Alright, so I've been a little bit lax with the blog last few games. So just a quick catch up. You had our game at Arkansas, a loss. Had a game at home against Florida, a win, and a game at Kentucky, another loss. Tigers 1-2 in those games. Probably should have been 3-0. Take a look at the Arkansas game first. The first 5 minutes of that Arkansas game was about as good of a start to a game as Missouri has had all season. Their second half defense was so bad, though. I mean, that's where they gave up a majority of the points to Arkansas. Something like 44 points in the second half, I want to say, something like that. That game was about as bad as Presti and Bowers have combined for all year long. You normally don't see both of them have an off game the same night. And I really think Arkansas got fortunate with that. Mike Anderson, he recruited the guys. He knows them probably better than Haith does. And he prepared for them pretty well. Arkansas did something that no other team has done this year against Presti, and that was hardcore ball denial and full court pressure all however 36 minutes that he was in that game, whatever. And that really, I think, put a damper into Presti's mood and spirit in that game and really kind of killed him. Arkansas has had some of the best pressure defense from that one game that I've seen anyone play in the SEC against us. On the flip side, with them having an off game, big opportunity for Keon Bell and Ernest Ross to step up in this one, and they definitely did. Keon was carrying them offensively. Ernest made some big plays. Those two guys, those are the guys that you go to whenever you don't have Presti and you don't have Bowers for your go-to. Those are the guys that you want to turn to and say, hey, we need a bucket, we need to stop, something like that. And that game, they did a great job of doing that. Arkansas is about the only team I would agree with playing a 2-3 zone against, like Haith for some reason has really enjoyed doing this year. Arkansas doesn't necessarily shoot that well, and Marshawn Powell can score it quite easily in the paint. This is about the only time a 2-3 zone would actually be sensible for Missouri defense, and for some reason, Haith only used it for about 2 or 3 minutes, even though they were pretty productive minutes. I would suggest giving that another try when they come up here and play us. Why not? You like to use it, this would be a great opportunity for it to actually work. Without a doubt, there was some questionable officiating in that game, but the door did swing both ways. Arkansas got away with some pretty awful things. Missouri got away with some pretty awful things. Overall, that game really wasn't decided by the referees. It was the play of B.J. Young and the failure by Mizzou to use that finishing punch that lost the game, essentially. These road games have shown how desperately Missouri needs a closer. Last year, you had a couple of them. You had English who could stroke down a three if you needed. You had Denman who could literally just do whatever he wanted to score. This year, there is no go-to. Presti's obviously taking the most last-second shots. You've seen Ernest take a couple. Lawrence has had a few. But there's just really no one that you're just comfortable with saying, here is the ball. Get out of his way. Go make a play and win us this game. No one can do that for this team, and that's been the major crutch when it comes to those road games. Because several of these games, Missouri has had the lead or had the opportunity to get pretty close to taking the lead in the last couple minutes, but have failed to get, one, the defensive stops necessary, and two, to get the points they need to get there. Anderson played his team 11 deep, which is pretty impressive and absolutely helped win them the game because, one, he was cycling through guards like it was no one's business, and that's how they were able to keep the constant pressure up on Presti. Their defensive intensity is absolutely annoying and aggravating to have to play against, but that's the exact type of thing that you would love to have on your team. You got to make this team shoot. They're not a great shooting team. They're not a great rebounding team. Marshawn Powell, their big guy, he can score inside, but he's not a rebounder like Oriaki. Alex Oriaki should be able to absolutely dominate him on the glass. Powell's just got some good moves whenever he gets into the paint and posts up. You might want to consider the double down. Again, double down, leave open the shooter, I'll take that chance. BJ Young's shooting like 24% from three. No one else on their team really shoots that great, and he loves taking shots for him for some reason. And Anderson is okay with him taking them, so I'm okay with him taking those shots. When Arkansas comes up here for round 2, I really think Missouri is going to stomp them. The Florida game had an atmosphere that hasn't really been evident at Mizzou Arena since probably Kansas was here last year. That's about as full as I've seen that building all year, and it was as loud and interested in the game as it has been all year. And it was great, and I really think the team fed off of that. But at the same time, I really felt like Florida did not come in with a passion or intensity to really want to compete. And I think that really took away from some of their competitive edge. And I don't think we got a true game from Florida. And even though we did get the win, I really don't think that was their best game. And if we were to play Florida at their best, like the first time we played them this year, we'd probably still end up losing by 20 or 25. That was one of the best team efforts I think we've had all year. Literally everyone contributed to that game to help win. I mean, you had Pressey finally giving some really good consistency. He kept his shot selection down, and he kept it to good shots. And he ran the offense he knows how he should. Off this pick and roll, getting his big guys some touches, and getting it out to their shooters. This game really kind of emphasized how much of a slump that Bowers has been in. I think this was the game that he had his double-double, but he did it taking a lot of shots, 4 of which were from beyond the arc. You know, everyone was saying when he had that knee injury last year, his shot was getting a lot better the farther away he got from the basket. I would have to agree with that. It looks a lot better than it did before his injury, but I think he's gotten a lot more comfortable with that outside shot than he has been in the paint, and I think that's going to hurt him and this team more than it's going to help. I mean, he was 0 for 4 from 3 in this game. Didn't need to be taking those shots. I don't fault him for wanting to make those big plays, but they're not the smart plays. And being a senior, he should be aware of what the smart play is. Mizzou definitely got fortunate that we caught Murphy and Patrick Young on an off night. I mean, I think they combined for maybe like 11, 13 points, something like that. Usually won't get them that low. Rosario in that game was pretty incredible to watch. He had a couple big daggers that I thought were going to put Mizzou away in that second half. But the moment that Missouri finally got the lead late in the second half, that's when it all turned, and Florida, what energy they did have, just completely drained. And you could pretty much tell Mizzou had it in the books by that point. Despite Florida's loss to us and their recent loss last night at Tennessee, which was a huge win for Conzo Martin. I mean, Tennessee's 6-game win streak right now. They're pretty much about the hottest team in basketball right now. Florida still got my vote for the best team in the SEC, by far. The only thing that concerns me with their team, that lack of depth off the bench. But fortunately enough for them, they can play 6 and 7 deep and get the quality of play from their starters that they need to win, kind of like Mizzou last year. So this game against Kentucky really exposed how horrid Missouri's defense can be at times. The selfish defensive mindset by Mizzou in that game was ridiculous. I've never seen them play like that before. I'm specifically calling out Jabari Brown and Lawrence Bowers, the senior. I mean, I was saying at the beginning of the year, Elbow is our leader. I mean, he's the guy that I look to kind of slap guys around, whether with his words or by his play, to get his team energized and playing the right way. In this Kentucky game, he went the complete opposite direction. Help defense was awful. He left they were leaving their teammates out to dry. Jabari was just about as useless as he's been all year. I mean, he had 3 separate occasions where his guy made the most simple backdoor cut and had the easiest layup against him. that killed us. He wasn't making up for his lax defense by making shots. When he does that, I really don't think he's that useful. I thought Ernest Ross got horribly underplayed in that game. I think Jabari's minutes compared to Ernest in that game was way, way too uneven. Oriaki getting it done on the boards and getting it done putting shots up was huge. Presti came up big in this one, a little bit as a facilitator, distributor, but I think he really recognized with Jabari not shooting well, with Keon and Lawrence not scoring very well, not getting contributions from Ernest because he was on the bench for a lot of the game. He recognized that they needed a true scorer, and he really stepped up in this game, made some huge shots. And all the talk on Twitter and whatnot that, Presti lost that game with another bad turnover, a bad shot at the end of the game. Well, I wouldn't want the ball in anyone else's hands, especially in that game, when he was the only reason why they were in that game. Kentucky kind of seems like they're one of the more dangerous teams that could be going into the tournament. Their lack of a bench definitely is going to hurt them end of the year in tournament if they make it. But Kentucky is still a very solid team, and their starting five is pretty good. They were talking on TV, they're a young team, and those guys stick around again next year. Hopefully Nerlens Noel gets healthy, is able to come back and play. Kentucky might be the favorite to win the SEC next year with the young talent they have. I mean, you saw how good Archie Goodwin was. The second half that he had was just ridiculous. I mean, he was out of his mind that second half, doing whatever he wanted to score. It was a good game for Kentucky, nationally televised. I mean, people got to see what kind of a team that they can be. And hopefully that puts a little bit of a fire under Missouri's tail going into these last few games. Getting a loss on national TV that you really should have won. I will give credit to Haith and his resiliency. Out of the 11, 12 losses he's had with Missouri now, none of them have come consecutively. He's now 11-0 in games following a loss. That's pretty incredible. And that's definitely not something to overlook, which is why I feel that Missouri will take care of business on the road at South Carolina. They will take care of business against LSU. Going to stomp Arkansas when they come up here. And then the main concern will be Tennessee when we go visit Conzo Martin, his team. And if the Volunteers are playing the way that they have been, I really don't think it's the fact that playing on the road is why Missouri can't win. We just don't have that closer that can finish off a game for us. We don't have Marcus Dimon anymore. We don't have Michael Dixon. Those two were pretty clutch. I mean, getting to the rim and knocking down big shots. And as we get closer to tournament time, it's gonna be up to one of them to decide to take over that role. Last 4 games, regular season, before you get to the SEC tournament and eventually the NCAA tournament. Haith is running out of time to maybe try some new things. Whether that be maybe trying a press, a new offensive set. Missouri's gotten pretty comfortable with some of their offensive sets the last few games that they'll continuously run them over and over the same plays. Kind of hit and miss with them. Haith seems to have his rotations down. He's starting Jabari over Ernest, something I wouldn't do, but that seems to be his pick. He's pretty much removed Yankovic and Webster Chan out of the lineup. Don't disagree with that at all. Rossberg's coming in, getting a couple quality minutes every game. He's really kind of the hustle guy. A poor man Steve Moore, really. So now's the time to really just kind of solidify how you want your team to play going into the tournament. Winning out, it's definitely possible. The main concern, like I said, going to be Tennessee, but I really think Missouri could be 4-0 these last few games. Head into the SEC tournament with some steam. hopefully finish well in that and propel them into the NCAA tournament, where they have some making up to do for last year. So that's the breakdown for the last 3 games. Try and keep it a little more up to date with these next few, especially going into the SEC tournament. I do want to say congratulations to my grandpa, Leland Brown, a couple weekends ago when I went home and also went down to Arkansas for the game. His 1962-63 state championship team that he coached at Republic was honored for their accomplishments that year. He won that tournament, that state tournament, right here in Columbia in the old Brewer Field House, a place that I get to play rec basketball, a couple times a week. And so, congratulations, Grandpa and Grandma. That's pretty amazing accomplishment to have. So I've gotten a lot of good memories from that I'm definitely going to hang on to for a long time. I know you guys will too, and the rest of the crew. I'd also like to give a shout out and a good luck to Coach Rippey and Kickapoo as they get ready to start their district play against Branson, a team that is very near and dear to my heart because I hate them so very much. Best of luck to you guys.